we call ourselves showing the world, and my son stopped the video because he woke up. We call ourselves showing the world in its entirety, in its full reality. But, you know, when we start to show some of these television shows with, you know, sometimes they don't have the happy endings that Leave It to Beaver or the Cosby Show has. They don't have these positive endings, and the moral of the story is, and the dad sits down at the end of the episode and tells the kid, shows the kid and tells the kid, you know, this is why these things are important. I think those shows are just as important, if not more, than some of the negative images that we show, because we want to do, you know, we want to make sure we're showing the world, you know, we're trying to show the world as it is, but the world can be positive just as it can be negative. And I think it's very important just as important to show, if not more, positive images as it is to show the world in its negative images too. So that I think there needs to be a balance, and I think that it's very important to have the positive shows. You know, I know y'all are trying to keep it real with the orange is the new black, and the reality of life is that it can also be very, very hard and very, very sad and very, very negative, but it can also be very, very happy and very, very joyous. So that's where I'm coming from with that. And I know y'all are probably like, okay, really? Are you really going to sit here and do that? Yes, to a degree. I definitely mourn the innocence. I try to find shows that I feel like me and my family can watch, that I don't have to, you know, censor or turn down, or, you know, I got to turn this off because my kids don't need to see it. And, you know, one thing I found on YouTube and YouTube Kids, you know, when I let them watch YouTube, is families like the McClure family, the Ali's, you know, we don't watch a lot of Samia's channel, but we mainly watch the regular family channel to see what it is to have a healthy, loving family. And so I think the reason why I'm having such a hard time is because I don't have that to show my kids anymore. I'm separated from my husband, and I don't have that positive image to show my kids of a family that doesn't always have to be a broken family, especially in black families, you know. And, you know, I was watching another YouTuber, and I won't say their name because I feel like I don't know the background on that family any more than I know the background on what happens behind the scenes of the Ali family. But this is another family that had multiple channels. One of the channels was the outside before she had started having kids, she was actually a model, a runway model, like famous, and, you know, family members are famous too. So she has her own channel. And she had a YouTube channel with her family and her husband and her kids. And at some point, the marriage broke down and they separated. So she kind of just stuck to doing her channel. Now, she still has her fashion channel where she talks about everything fashion and beauty and things like that. And every now and then she gives you a glimpse of her family life with her children. But she's taken on just strictly that channel. The family channel, I don't even know how that works out. I think that was pretty much dissolved after the relationship broke down, and I think the husband still does a family-centered type. He posts like family-centered stuff. I think that he's so used to having it that way that he still posts a lot of family-centered stuff, which can be kind of different, because sometimes when marriages break up, you know, sometimes what I've seen with some of the family channels, when one of the members of, you know, normally the husband is not posting stuff like that, but in this case, this husband he posts a lot of family-centered stuff. He still posts a lot of family stuff, and just tries to show a normalized view of his family, even though him and his wife have broken up. So as y'all can see, I don't think that the YouTubers understand that we rely on this. We tune into y'all every week, and this is kind of like, okay, we can relate to y'all on certain levels because I got kids, y'all got kids. I'm married, y'all married. Some of us are single moms because I was single. I was a single mom for a really long time before I got married a few years ago. But yeah, that's what I'm saying. So yeah, I think it's a loss of innocence. I think it's just really trying. It's almost like you're mourning the loss. So yeah, so that was one example of another family channel, and I didn't want to be too specific. I kind of glimpsed at one of her videos today, and I think she was kind of, to some degree, defending her decision to move on from her marriage and not stay in her marriage with very small children. I'll just say, unless I was being physically abused, I'll say that my decision would have been different. Mine would have been to make this, my goal would have been to get the counseling and try to make the marriage work, unless my husband was, abusive. It would have been my goal to try my best to keep the marriage together, because you see all these YouTubers and they have very extremely young children. I mean, when I say these kids are young, some of them are newborn, some of them are 2, 3, 5, some of them haven't even, these kids are under 10, and some of them are extremely young. Some of them are still toddlers. So what is disturbing to me is, you'll hear the person say all these positive things, and they will say, I had to do what was right for me. And it bothers me, because I was like, well, what about what's right for the children? And you really have to, I've always been told, it was drilled into me, this is not about you anymore. There are little lives that you have to be responsible for. And you need to show them a good example of endurance, resilience, working together and working through things. Because if they see the example that as soon as something gets tough, hey, let's all separate and go our separate ways, what's to say that they won't feel even though this is not the same thing, that what's to say they won't feel a little unsettled and feel like when things get a little tough with you and them, that they won't feel like you'll abandon and let go of them. I know that my parents have separated and they never really went ahead and fully divorced, but they've been separated for several decades now. Mainly because the divorce was contested, and there was a lot of money involved, and people kind of ran out, went broke, paying the lawyer, and they never really went through with finalizing that divorce. But they have lived apart for a very long time. But yeah, I get sad. I guess, you really can't rely on people. I know y'all. I know you can't let yourself get so attached to people that it affects you. But it really does. Some of these I got attached to one family, and now they're separated and got divorced. And they were like my little go-to family that I watched. And like I said, I think I said it in my last post, out of about 10 YouTube channels between 10 and 15 channels that I really keep up with, because there are so many family channels and so many people that have YouTube family pages. I've only could really say that there's only about 3 families that I heavily watch. And I know the McClure family in the last 2 years, their family I watch a lot of. The Ali family I watch a lot of. And there were like 2 other families that I just really, really, really heavily watched. And when those families, they took a turn where they decided to get divorced. So they dissolved completely, just got rid of the family channel because they did divorce. It kind of left you feeling empty and like, well, damn, this is what I would tune into this shit every week and even watch it with my kids. And now I don't have it anymore. So it bothers me. And so I don't think that, I know they're going through what they're going through and it got nothing to do with me, but I don't know. I'm going through things right now myself. So it just kind of bothers me that, and I don't know the details. And because some of this stuff was going on behind the scenes and not even though it's reality based YouTube channel, there is a lot that you're not going to see. And in your mind, you're thinking, well, did they do the steps that were necessary to work on it? I think it's very important, very, very important. Like I said again, to show your kids that you can stick with your spouse. And I think it's very important to work through it. I think it's just as important to be dedicated to your children and your spouse as it is to your children. And I think they need to see those positive, strong examples of working through the tough things and not just saying, I had to do what felt right for me. Yes, you have to do what feels right for you. But before you consider what feels right for you, you also have to, you have to think about not just you. You also have to think about those small children. Very, very small children that are involved. If you're just a single person and you ain't got no kids involved in it, and you only been married for a short period of time and there are no kids involved and y'all decide to dissolve the marriage, then that's a lot less for you to have to kind of worry about. But when you're dealing with, I need to do what's right for me, you also have to include what is right for your children. And I know you say, well, me and my spouse are separated now, or the relationship between me and my spouse is over, so I no longer care about what happens to them. I don't think you can just stop loving a person just like that. You can be very angry at them, but if y'all just had, like I was saying with this family, they have a 5-6 month old baby. So within the last year, somebody been loving somebody. There's a baby in the picture. So this relationship didn't fall apart. And somebody said, well, it's very easy for people to still be having sex even when a relationship breaks down. That's true too. But I think that if y'all are still able to be intimate, if y'all able to even do that much, then y'all can sit down with a counselor. Y'all can sit down with your minister or your pastor or whatever faith leader y'all go to, depending on your choice of your faith and your religion, you know what I mean? And I keep saying that over and over and stressing that over and over, because at the end of the day, it ain't just about what feels right for you or what's best for you. If you're in I will say the only time that I feel like that 100% applies is when you are in a verbally and physically abusive relationship, because I know that there's more than one type of abuse. So let me add verbal abuse to the list too, but definitely physical abuse is a deal breaker as far as marriage. I'm not gonna sit here, and because also you have to think about that's not fair to your kids, and who's to say if he or she is being physically abusive, who's to say your children are not going to be next? So that's where I feel like it kind of does matter. But if it's just y'all can't get along, but y'all got babies involved, y'all got to figure it out. Marriage is not, I said it before and I'll say it again, marriage ain't this type of situation where y'all it's like putting on clothes and taking them off when things get tough. Marriage is supposed to be when things get tough. That's when y'all hold each other even more tighter. Y'all stick together even harder. Like, baby, we got to get through this. You know what I mean? And I know, and I can see it when I watch the blogs. I see that anger. no matter how he tries to hide it, and tries in the videos that he's been posting lately, no matter how he decides, oh, I'm not gonna share what's really happening, he's only not really speak on it, only kind of vaguely speak on it, but not really go deep into it. I see it's so obvious. It's like you saying a lot without saying anything at all. And you keeping busy and staying busy to keep your mind off of what is happening in your personal relationship. That shit's only gonna last for so long. I'm speaking from experience on both ends of the spectrum. I kept busy when my first relationship with my first child's father broke down. That was my thing to do. And with the pandemic, everybody had to stay home unless you worked for a hospital, or if you were lucky enough to work for like essential work, like such as like the post office or the grocery retailer. Unless you had one of those jobs, everybody was stuck staying home, and you got plenty of time to be at home and think about all the things that aren't going right. You know what I mean? And so I think that probably helped further break down the further breakdown of the relationship even more, because now y'all got time at home to get under each other's skin, and some of those same issues that should have been addressed that weren't addressed, now they're grown. They went from becoming small to medium to humongous problems now, because now y'all can't run away from them. Y'all are around each other a lot more. So like I said, like right now, I see him keeping busy. I see him doing what he got to do. I'm telling you, that was me. And that it worked. And actually, I will say that it did work for me to help me get through that hard period. But it only worked as long as you can stay busy. With them putting everybody in lockdown the way they did, and that was a prime time. They were saying domestic abuse went up, murder had went up. And when I mean like from people, people getting murdered by their spouses and stuff, and people having to be around each other more than they normally had. And let's say the relationship was already rocky, and now you are at home with that person, and if the relationship was at all even slightly abusive, then it became like to the point where you were seeing it. Like they had said, domestic abuse had risen, the percentage was high. I forgot what the percentage was, but they was like domestic abuse had risen since the pandemic, because people was like around each other more, and and if y'all wasn't problem solving and learning to sit down and work through it, and both parties, because I say this and we say this all day long, it's like, oh, well, let's problem solve. Because let me just say, out of the mouth of myself as well as my partner, we would all say we need to problem solve. It's easy to say it, but harder to do it, because he had all this great advice about problem solving and communication. But as soon as I will give you a great example of that breakdown of that communication. We both agreed that we both need to communicate better. But as soon as I said something painful, he would drown me out and hang up on me. I still had to say what needed to be said that was on my spirit and on my heart. And what I would do is I would let him speak first. And by the time we got to the very end of that, by the time we got to the very end of that, I was completely drowned out. He'd start talking over me. It would turn into a yelling match. And women, honey, if you're a strong woman, and I'm not stubborn, but I'm definitely not going to be drowned out. I was determined to say what I had to say. So I would, in the manner I'm speaking right now, I would wait, and I said, you're not going to drown me out. I would say it just like that. I'm going to still say what I need to say. And you'd be like, I am still going to say you are not going to drown me out. I'm going to say what I need to say. You just going on and on now. Okay, so now that it's my turn to say what's on my heart, or explain to you how I felt in the situation, or maybe not even necessarily be about how I felt, of, you know, reason why I see it the way I see it. Now I'm being drowned out. You get what I'm saying? So we both knew that communication was important, but at the end of the day, that we weren't practicing what we were preaching. I'll say he wasn't practicing what he was preaching, because I sat there, I listened to everything he had to say, and then when it was my turn to say my piece about what it was, it would become a shouting match, or it would become him talking loudly, or I couldn't even get a full thought out. I couldn't get the thought process is like, it was just as hard to just say one sentence as it was to say two, because you couldn't even get out your full thought. If he at all sensed it was, you know, not 100% in harmony with what he had decided was the best way to do things, he would be immediately, I say, well, listen, sometimes I wouldn't be in agreement with them, but he was so ready to, a lot of time I was in agreement with him. I'll just tell you how this goes. There were times when I was 100% in agreement with my husband, or 90% in agreement with him, or 80%. But these were times when the majority of what he had said, I was in agreement with. But it was that 20% where I wanted to okay, I agree with you on part 1, part 2, part 3, but it's part 4 where I don't agree with you in any shape or form. And let's just tackle that, because we already know what we agree on. No, he didn't want to hear it. He did not want to hear it. He was always ready for a battle. If you did not 100% do what he said, 100% agree with how he felt about the situation, then he didn't want to hear it, and he would hang up on you, or while we were still living in the household, he would put holes in the wall, break shit, very expensive temper tantrums, like. But I'm laughing, but it's very, very sad. I can giggle about it now, but I'm telling you, like, there are times, even now, I still shed a tear or two about some of that stuff, because a lot of it's still pretty fresh. It wasn't like it just happened, like it happened years ago. Some of that stuff is still pretty fresh, and part of it, the healing process is kind of hard, because even now we will come to a point where we think we're making headway, and as soon as I say something that is not in harmony, like I said, at some point when I say something that is not in harmony with how he wants things to be done, then that's when everything breaks down. And I said it before the other night. It was a case of, you don't have to agree with what I say. You just have to respect how I feel. And that, you would think that would be okay between two people, because we're not always going to like the same things. We're not always going to agree on the same thing. But that's not what he meant when he said you don't. That's not exactly what he meant. What he meant when he said that was, it's okay if you don't agree with me, but I still want you to do as I say. I still want you to do things how I see it. He don't come right out and say that, but when I had to try to I couldn't quite figure out when he would keep reiterating that it's okay. It's all right if you don't agree with me on that. I just need you to understand where I'm coming from. And then, it don't take me much. I know how to read between the lines. I know I can catch a hint. But for me, when he said that, it kind of threw you off, because for most people, it's okay if you don't agree with me, because we're not going to always see eye to eye. It means exactly what it is. But for him, it did not mean that. What he meant when he said that, I had to come to find out what he truly meant by that, was that you still need to be able to do what I say. You still need to be able to do things in the way in which I see they should be done. And even if you're not happy about it, basically was what he meant. Not, you just gonna have your opinion, I'm just gonna have mine, and we're just gonna have to meet somewhere in the middle. No, that's not what he meant. And you would think that's what he meant, but that is not what he meant. But anyway, y'all, I just wanted to get that out because I was kind of sad, and just like, then I saw the post with the other YouTuber. He got his post today about his family, and you could definitely read between the lines and see that he is grinding hard. Everybody was like, oh, he's doing all this, and he's got he's doing all this work, and he's remaining positive. No, he's keeping busy. And that's, if some of y'all are not familiar with that, I can definitely attest that I'm familiar with when my relationship, and I was pregnant too, so I had the hormones on top of all that. So you imagine me keeping busy, and even after I had my child, that once a month for women where we have our menstrual cycle, and our hormones are out of whack again, child. There's every now and then I was like, I need to be a man, because first of all, not only do you have to deal with your hormones affecting you, affecting your emotions. You always got to deal with it once a month when you have a menstrual cycle, or if you have a medical condition that kind of throws your hormones off. But men, I don't know if they have to deal with that with their body at any point, but I definitely know we got that with us. We got that at least once a month when we have a menstrual cycle, and at least every single time we have a pregnancy, we got to deal with that. So you have to be in control of you. Imagine that you have to try to be in control of your emotions when it's kind of hard to be fully in control of your emotions. I mean, I could watch a puppy, when I was pregnant, I could watch a puppy commercial and start crying. I was like, what the? And I'd be sitting up here looking at the ceiling up toward the heavens and like, what is wrong with me? Why am I being so emotional? What in the world? I was like trying to figure it out. And I said, oh, you know what? It must be almost time for my menstrual cycle. Or of course, if I was pregnant at the time, I'd be like, oh my God, is this how it's going to be through my whole pregnancy? I mean, something, and don't let me watch a drama or some type of movie and the heroine is going through something. Honey, I'd be sobbing like it was real life and like it was happening to me. So, yeah. But anyway, I'm going to end this video. That's just where I was as far as my heart goes and where my heart went with this whole situation with all these different YouTubers breaking up. And it's like, damn, I did not want to get attached to y'all. If y'all were going to do all this, hell, I've got enough problems in my own real life. I just never would allow my family to get attached to y'all if I knew y'all were going to do that. But right, it's real life. So I guess it's unpredictable. But I still like the Jillian, Auntie Jillian. Her and her husband, they've been together forever. Hopefully, look, knock on wood, I don't have to worry about them. There's another family members of the Ali family, and I love their family channel. So I'm going to continue to tune into them. I hope not. I don't think they're going to get divorced anytime soon. But these young folks out here trying to figure it out, you know, we all knew Miss LaToya wanted to be famous. She always just said, I want to be an actress. I want to be famous when I grow up. So, you know, a lot of people that are bashing her saying she's, you know, vain or she has an issue with vanity. That, I don't think is an issue with vanity. That's just her life dream. That's what she's always wanted to do. And she's just like a little girl playing in the makeup kit or whatever. She always loves fashion. She always loves beauty, all things beauty. Wouldn't try to shame her into saying she's vain or anything. Not that I don't know if she's vain, but I would just say, I do know that these are her interests and hobbies because this is what she puts a big, big push on when she does her beauty videos and things. So I wouldn't hold that against her. Y'all knew what she was when y'all first met her. And I don't even look at what she does as negative. You know what I mean? This is what she loves to do. She's always, since she was a little girl, if y'all ever followed some of her old videos, some of her old posts, y'all even seen her as a teenager, y'all would see that there's a child, she loves the spotlight. She's always wanted to be an actress or a comedian or something that had to do with something being famous. So, you know, don't start bashing her now because her marriage is, you know, because her and her husband have separated. Come on now. But anyway, y'all, that was just my 2 cents, and I don't know if I'll post this, but if I do, I might have to edit a little bit. All right. Everyone have a wonderful, 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 wonderful night.